Hi Mark, my name is Bella. My student number is S0441017. Sophie Scott, why we laugh? I'm a freshman at NCUE. Hi, I'm going to talk to you today about laughter. And I just wanted to start by thinking about the first time I can ever remember noticing laughter. That is when I was a little girl. I would have been about 6. And I came across my parents doing something unusual, where they were laughing. They were laughing very, very hard. They were lying on the floor laughing. They were screaming with laughter. I did not know what they were laughing at, but I wanted in. I wanted to be part of that. And I kind of sat around at the edge going, hoo-hoo. Now, incidentally, what they were laughing at was a song which people used to sing, which was based around signs in toilets on trains, telling you what you could and could not do in toilets on trains. And the things you have to remember about English is, of course, we do have an immensely sophisticated sense of humor. At the time, though, I did not understand anything of that. I just cared about the laughter. And actually, as a neuroscientist, I've come to care about it again. And it is really a weird thing to do. What I'm going to do now is just play some examples of real human beings laughing. And I want you to think about the sound people make and how odd it can be. And in fact, how primitive laughter is as a sound. It is much more like an animal code than it is like speech. So here we have got some laughter for you. The first one is pretty joyful. Now, this next guy, I need him to breathe. There's a point in there where I just like, you have got some air in there, Matt, because he just sounds like he's breathing out. This hasn't been edited. This is him. And finally we have, this is a human female laughing. And laughter can take us to some pretty odd places in terms of making noises. She actually says, "Oh my God, what is that?" in French. We all kind of with her. I have no idea. Now, to understand laughter, you have to look at a part of the body that psychologists and neuroscientists don't normally spend much time looking at, which is ribcage. And it doesn't seem terribly exciting, but actually, you are all using your ribcage all the time. What you're all doing at the movement with your ribcage, and don't stop doing it, is breathing. So you use the intercostal muscles, the muscles between your ribs, to bring air in and out of your lungs just by expanding and contracting your ribcage. And if I was to put a strap around the outside of your chest, called it a breath belt, and just look at the left movement, you see a rather gentle, sinusoidal movement. So that's breathing. You are all doing it. Don't stop. As soon as you start talking, you start using your breath completely differently. So what I'm doing now is you see something much more like this. In talking, you use very fine movements of the ribcage to squeeze the air out. And in fact, we are the only animals that can do this. That's why we can talk at all. Now, both talking and breathing has a mortal enemy, and that enemy is laughter, because what happens when you laugh is those same muscles start to contract very regularly, and you got this very marked sort of zigzagging, and that's just squeezing the air out of you. It's the basic way of making a sound. You could be standing on somebody. It's having the same effect. You are just squeezing air out, and each of those contractions, gives you a sound. And as the contractions run together, you can get those spasms. And that's when you start getting those things happening. I'm brilliant at this. Now, in terms of science of laughter, there isn't very much, but it does turn out that pretty much everything we think we know about laughter is wrong. So this is not at all unusual. For example, to hear people to say humans are the only animals that laugh. Nature thought that humans are the only animals that laugh. In fact, you find laughter throughout the mammals. It's been well described and well observed in primates. But you also see it in rats, and wherever you find it. Humans, primates, rats, you find it associated with things like tickling. That's the same for humans. You find it associated with play, and all mammals play. And wherever you find it, it's associated with interactions. So Robert Private, who has done a lot of work on this, has pointed out that you were 30 times more likely to laugh if you are with somebody else than if you are on your own. And where you find most laughter is in social interaction like conservation. So if you ask human beings, when do you laugh? They will talk about comedy, and they will talk about humor, and they will talk about jokes. If you look at when they laugh, they were laughing with their friends. And when we laugh with people, we were hardly very actually laughing at jokes. You are laughing to show people that you understand them, and you agree with them, and you are part of some groups as them. You are laughing to show that you like them. You might ever love them. You are doing all that at the same time as talking to them, and the laughter is doing a lot of that emotional work for you. Something that Robert Private has pointed out, as you can see here. And the reason why we were laughing when we hear those funny laughs at the start, and why I was laughing when I found my parents laughing, is that an enormously behaviorally context effect. You can catch laughter from somebody else, and you are more likely to catch laughter of somebody else if you know them. So it is still modulated by this social context. You have to put humor to one side and think about the social meaning of laughter because they where its origin lie. Now, something I've got very interested in is different kinds of laughter, and we have some neurobiological evidence about how human beings vocalize that stress. There might be two kinds of laughter that we have. So it seems possible that the neurobiology for helpless, involuntary laughter, like my parents lying on the floor screaming about a silly sound, might have a different basis to it than some of that more polite social laughter that you encounter, which is a horrible laughter, but it's behavior somebody is doing as part of their communicative act to you, part of their interaction with you. They are choosing to do this. In our evolution, we have developed two different ways of vocalizing. Involuntary vocalization are part of an elderly system than the more voluntary vocalizations like the speech I'm doing now. So we might imagine that laughter might actually have two different roots. So I have been looking at this in more detail. To do this, we have had to make recording of people laughing, and we have had to do whatever it takes to make people laugh, and we have got those same people to produce more post-social laughter. So imagine your friends told a joke, and you have laughing because you like your friend, but not really because its joke is all that. So I'm going to play you a couple of those. I want you to tell me if you think this laughter is real laughter or if you think it's posed. So is this involuntary laughter or more voluntary laughter? What does laugh sound like to you? Posed? Posed? Posed. How about this one? I'm the best. Not really. No, that was helpless laughter, and in fact, to record that, all they had to do was record me watching one of my friends listening to something I knew she wanted to laugh at, and I just started to doing this. What you find is that people are good at telling the differences between the real and the posed laughter. They seem to be different things to us. Interestingly, you see something quite similar with chimpanzees. Chimpanzees laugh differently if they were being tickled than if they are playing with each other, and we might be seeing something like that they hear. Involuntary laughter, tickling laughter, being different from social laughter. They are actually very different. Their real laughs are longer. They are higher in pitch. When you start laughing hard, you start squeezing air out from your lungs under much higher pressures than you could ever produce voluntarily. For example, I could never pitch my voice that high to sing. Also, you start to get those sort of contraction and weird whistling sounds, all of which means that real laughter is extremely easy, or feels extremely easy to spot. In contrast, post laughter, we might think it sounds like a bit of fake. Actually, it isn't. It's actually an important social cue. We use it a lot. We are choosing to laugh in a lot of situations, and it seems to be its own thing. So, for example, you find nasality in post laughter. It's a kind of ha 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 sound that you never get. You could not do if you were laughing involuntarily. So they do seem to be genuinely those two different sorts of things. We took it into the scanner to see how brains respond when you hear laughter. And when you do this really boring experiment. We just play people real and post laughter and post laughs. We didn't tell them it is a study on laughter. We put on sounds in there to distract them, and all they're doing is lying listening to sounds. We're not tell them to do anything. Nonetheless, when you hear real laughter and when you hear post laughter, the brains are responding completely differently, significantly differently. What you see in the regions in blue, which lies and auditory cortex, are the brain's areas that respond more to the real laughs, and what seems to be the case. When you hear somebody laughing involuntarily, you hear sounds you would never hear in any other context. It's very ambiguously, and it seems to be associated with greater auditory processing of those novel sounds. In contrast, when you hear somebody laugh in a post way, what you see are those regions in pink, which are copying brain's areas associated with mentalizing, thinking about what somebody else is thinking. And I think what that means is, even if you're hearing your brain scanned, which is completely boring and not very interesting, when you hear somebody going, ah ha ha ha, you are trying to work out why they are laughing. Laughter is always meaningful. You are always trying to understand it in context, even if, as far as you are concerned, at that point in time, it has no necessarily anything to do with you, so still want to know why those people are laughing. Now, we have had the opportunity to look at how people hear real and post laughter across age range. So this is an online experiment we ran with the Royal Society, and how we just asked people two questions. First of all, they heard some laughs, and they had to say how real or post do those laughs sound. The real laughs are shown in red, and the post laughs are shown in blue. What you see is there is a rapid onset. As you get older, you get better and better at spotting real laughter. So 6-year-olds are at chance. They can't really hear the differences. For the time you are elder, you get better. But interestingly, you do not hit peak performances in these detectors until you are in your late 30s and early 40s. You don't understand laughter fully by the time you hit puberty. You don't understand laughter fully by the time your brain has matured at the end of your teens. You have learning about laughter throughout your entire early adult life. If we turn to the question around and now say not, what does the laughter sound like in terms of being real or posed? But we say, how much does this laughter make you want to laugh? How contiguous it is laughter to you. Receive a different profile. And here, the younger you are, the more you want to join in when you hear laughter. Remember, we're laughing with my parents when I had no idea what was going on. You really can't see this now. Everybody, young and old, find the real laugh more contiguous than the posed laugh. But as you get older, it all becomes less contiguous to you. Now, either we are just becoming really grumpy as we get older, or it may mean that as you understand laughter better, and you are getting better at doing this, you need more than just hearing people laugh to want to laugh. You need the social stuff here. So we have got a very interesting behavior about which a lot of our lie assumptions are incorrect. But I'm coming to see that actually there's even more to laughter than is an important social emotion we should look at. Because it turns out people are phenomenally nailed in terms of how we use laughter. There's a really lovely set of studies coming from Robert Valence's lab in California, where he's doing a longitudinal study with couples. He gets married couples, men and women, into the lab, and he gives them stressful conversation to have while he writes them up to a polygraph so he can see them becoming stressed. So you have got the two of them in there, and he will say to the husband, "Tell me something that your wife does that irritates you." And what you see is immediately just run that one through your head briefly. You and your partner. You can imagine everybody get a bit more stressed as soon as that starts. You can see physically people become more stressed. What he finds is that the couples who manage that feeling of stress with laughter, positively emotions like laughter, not only immediately become less stressed, they can see them physically feeling better. They are dealing with this unpleasant situation better together. They are also the couples that report high levels of satisfaction in their relationship, and they stay together for longer. So in fact, when you look at close relationship, laughter is a phenomenally used index of how people are regulating their emotions together. We are not just imitating each other to show that we like each other. We are making ourselves feel better together. Now, I don't think this is going to be limited to romantic relationship. I think this is probably going to be a characteristic of close emotional relationship such as you might have with friends, which explains my next clip, which is of a YouTube video of some young men in the former East Germany on making a video to promote their heavily metal band, and it is extremely macro, and their mood is very serious, and I want you to notice what happens in terms of laughter when things go wrong, and how quickly that happens, and how that changes the mood. He's cold. He's about to get wet. He's going swim tongues on. Got a tour. Ice. What might possibly happen? Video starts. Seriously mood. And his friends are already laughing. They are already laughing hard. He's not laughing yet. He starts to go now. And now they are all off. They are on the floor. The thing I really like about this, it is very serious until he jumps onto the ice. And as soon as he doesn't go through the ice, but also there's There isn't blood and bound everywhere. His friends start laughing. And imagine if Lad had played him out with him standing there going, "No, seriously, Harriet, I think that is broken. We wouldn't enjoy watching Lad. That would be stressful." Or if he was running around with a visibly broken leg, laughing, and his friends are going, "Harriet, I think we need to go to the hospital now." That also wouldn't be funny. The fact that laughter works, it gets him from the painful, embarrassing, difficult situation into a funny situation, into what we are actually enjoying there. And I think that's really interesting use, and it's actually happening all the time. For example, I can remember something like this happening at my father's funeral. We were not jumping around on the ice in our underpants. We are not Canadians. That even are always difficult. I had relatively who has been a bit difficult. My mom was not in a good place, and I can remember finding myself just before the whole thing started telling this story about something that happened in a 1960s sitcoms. And I just felt at the time, I don't know why I'm doing this. And what I realized I was doing was I was coming up with something from somewhere I could use to make her laugh together with me. It was a very basic reaction to find some reasons we can do this. We can laugh together. We are going to get through this. We are going to be okay. And in fact, all of us are doing this all the time. You do this so often, you don't even notice it. Everybody underestimate how often they laugh, and you are doing something. When you laugh with people, that's actually letting you access a really ancient evaluationary system that mammals have evolved to make and maintain social bonds, and clearly to regulate emotions, to make ourselves feel better. It isn't sound specific to humans. It's really ancient behavior which really helps us regulate how we feel and make us feel better. In other words, when it comes to laughter, you and me, baby, are nothing but mammals. Thank you. It's all about our recording. Thank you.